Howdy, howdy, howdy. My name is Anashi Sasuke, and I really did not come up with something to record for Mondays. I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, I could do the Wanderers Library thing, but I never actually decided whether or not I was going to do that because, like I said, that's basically just doing two SCP videos every Monday. I considered doing a game, but I wasn't sure which game I wanted to do. I was thinking of doing Dead Cells, but I've already started playing that, so it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to try Dead Cells for the first time. I got it for Christmas, and I've already played a little bit of it. And then I saw a commercial the other day for Guillermo del Toro's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. My sister and I read those books when we were kids, because that's just what we did. I mean, I read Stephen King before I read Percy Jackson, and I decided to see if it's on the internet anywhere. And I found a PDF of the first book. Ta-da! So I'm gonna read through this. Since the movie's coming out in August, I don't know that I'll be able to find any of the rest of the books. For all I know, I'm gonna get a copyright strike for doing this at all. We'll find out when that video goes up, and if there's no second video for today, that's what happened, and you won't even get to hear any of this. I'll explain in the SCP video. So, let's see now. Let me scroll down a little bit because this was the I think the biggest I was actually able to get it unless I zoom in a little bit. Zoom, yeah, that helps. So we got also by Alvin Schwartz, more scary stories to tell in the dark, a twister of twists, a tangler of tongues, tomfoolery, trickery foolery with words, cross your fingers, spit in your hat, chin music, and a flapdoodle. So this is I did not know that this was collected from folklore because the last time I read this, I think my age was in the single digits, and I'm 27 now. So, here's a list of the copyrights, I guess. So it's a good thing I'm showing this. This came out in 1989. So did my sister. Ah! Let's see. We got Chapter 1 is ah! And Chapter 2 is he heard footsteps coming up the cellar stairs. Chapter 3 is they eat your eyes, they eat your nose. Chapter 4 is other dangers. Chapter 5 is ah! Again. It's not a very long book. I was going to be like, oh, we'll just read some of it and do more next Monday. But it looks like it's not a very long book. We'll see how it goes. Maybe there'll be enough for 2 Mondays. Maybe there'll be enough for this Monday. Then I'll have to think of something else again. If that happens, let me know in the comments what else you think I could do for Mondays. Because I honestly don't know. To Dinah. Scary stories to tell in the dark. Scare strange and scare things. Pioneers used to entertain themselves by telling scary stories. At night, they might gather in somebody's cabin or around a fire and see who could scare the others the most. Some girls and boys in my town do the same thing today. They get together at somebody's house and they turn off all the lights and eat popcorn and scare one another half to death. Telling scary stories is something people have done for thousands of years. For most of us like being scared in that way. Since there isn't any danger, we think it's fun. There are a great many scary stories to tell. There are ghost stories, there are tales of witches, devils, boogeymen, zombies, and vampires. There are tales of monstrous creatures and of other dangers. There are even stories that make us laugh at all this scariness. Like Tim Burton's It. Not Tim Burton, wow, Tim Curry. Tim Burton's It would be a whole different beast. Dear Lord. Some of these tales are very old, and they are told around the world. And most have the same origins. They're based on things that people saw or heard or experienced or thought they did. Many years ago, a young prince became famous for a scary story he started to tell but did not finish. His name was Mamilius, and he was probably 9 or 10 years old. William Shakespeare told about him in The Winter's Tale. It was on a dark winter's day that his mother, the queen, asked him for a story. A sad tale's best for winter, he said. I have one of sprites and goblins. Do your best to frighten me with your sprites, she said. You're powerful at it. I shall tell it softly, he said. Yon cricket shall not hear it. And he began. There was a man dwelt by a churchyard, but that was as far as he got, for at that moment the king came in and arrested the queen and took her away, and after that, Mamilius died. No one knows how he would have finished his story. If you started it as he did, what would you tell? Most scary stories are, of course, meant to be told. They're more scary that way, but how you tell them is important. As Mamilius knew, the best way to speak is softly, so that your listeners lean forward to catch your words, and to speak slowly, so that your voice sounds scary. And the best time to tell these stories is at night, in the dark and the gloom. It's easy for someone listening to imagine all sorts of strange and scary things. Oh, he's from Princeton, New Jersey. I can hop a bus to that part of town. Alright, so what's the first story? Chapter 1. Ah! This chapter is filled with jump stories you can use to make your friends jump with fright. Okay. The big toe. That doesn't look like a toe. Oh, nope, there it is. I was looking at the child. A boy was digging at the edge of the garden when he saw a big toe. He tried to pick it up, but it was stuck to something. So he gave it a good hard jerk, and it came off in his hand. Then he heard something groan and scamper away. The boy took the toe into the kitchen and showed it to his mother. "It looks nice and plump," she said. "I'll put it in the soup and we'll have it for supper." That night his father carved the toe into three pieces, and they each had a piece. Then they did the dishes, and when it got dark they went to bed. The boy fell asleep almost at once, but in the middle of the night a sound awakened him. It was something out in the street. It was a voice, and it was calling to him. "Where is my toe?" it groaned. When the boy heard that, he got very scared. Understandable. But he thought, "It doesn't know where I am. It will never find me." Then he heard the voice once more, only now it was closer. "Where is my toe?" it groaned. The boy pulled the blankets over his head and closed his eyes. "I'll go to sleep," he thought. "When I wake up, it will be gone." But soon he heard the back door open, and again he heard the voice. "Where is my toe?" it groaned. Then the boy heard footsteps move through the kitchen, into the dining room, into the living room, into the front hall. And slowly they climbed the stairs. Closer and closer they came. Soon they were in the upstairs hall. Now they were outside his door. "Where's my toe?" His door opened. Shaking with fear, he listened as the footsteps slowly moved through the dark towards his bed. Then they stopped. "Where is my toe?" the voice groaned. At this point, pause. Then jump at the person next to you and shout, "You've got it!" I didn't know that the book was formatted for you to read it to other people. Me and my sister just read it to ourselves. Like, not even to each other, we just read them to ourselves. So the fact that the book is formatted like this, no wonder Guillermo del Toro's turned it into a movie. I imagine it'll be an anthology movie. The big toe also has another ending. When the boy hears the voice calling for its toe, he finds a strange-looking creature up inside his chimney. The boy is so frightened that he can't move. He just stands there and stares at it. Finally, he asks, "What big... you've got such big eyes for?" And the creature answers, "To look through and through." "What you got such big claws for?" "To scratch up your grave." "What you got such a big mouth for?" "To swallow you whole." "What you got such sharp teeth for?" "To chop your bones." As you give your last line, pounce on one of your friends. Interesting. Yeah, that really is cool. I really did not remember that it was formatted to be read like you just read it at a story or at a party or something. Maybe I'll do that someday. I don't know when. Maybe at a convention. The walk. My uncle was walking down a lonely dirt road one day. He came upon a man who was also walking down that road. The man looked at my uncle looked at the man. The man was scared of my uncle, and my uncle was scared of that man. But they kept on walking, and it began to get dark. The man looked at my uncle, and my uncle looked at the man. The man was very scared of my uncle, and my uncle was very scared of that man. But they kept on walking. They came to a big woods. It was getting darker, and the man looked at my uncle, and my uncle looked at the man. The man was really scared of my uncle, and my uncle was really scared of that man. But they kept on walking, and deep down into the woods they went. It was getting darker, and the man looked at my uncle. My uncle looked at the man. The man was terrible scared of my uncle, and my uncle was terrible scared of... I'm not going to scream, but... yeah, I don't even think I understand why the scream was a thing. "Hey, what do you come for?" There was an old woman who lived all by herself, and she was very lonely. Sitting in the kitchen one night, she said, "Oh, I wish I had some company." No sooner had she spoken than down the chimney tumbled 2 feet from which the flesh had rotted. The old woman's eyes bulged with terror. Then 2 legs dropped to the earth and attached themselves to the feet. Then a body tumbled down, then 2 arms, and a man's head. As the old woman watched, the parts came together to a great gangling man. The man danced around and around the room. Faster and faster he went. Then he stopped and he looked into her eyes. "What do you come for?" she asked in a small voice that shivered and shook. "What do I come for?" he said. "I come for you!" As you shout the last word, stamp your foot and jump at someone nearby. It's a lot of jumping and movement for telling some spooky stories. Oh, hey, there's a picture of the feet. Oh, geez, there's a picture of the head. Unless this is a different... Mitai Doti Walker. Okay. There was a haunted house where every night a bloody head fell down the chimney. Oh. At least that's what people said. So nobody would stay there overnight. Then a rich man offered $200 to whoever would do it. And this boy said he would try if he could have his dog with him. So it was all settled. The very next night, the boy went to the house with his dog. To make it more cheerful, he started a fire in the fireplace. Then he sat in front of the fire and waited, and his dog waited with him. For a while, nothing happened. But after a little after midnight, he heard someone singing softly and sadly off in the woods. The singing sounded something like this. "Mitai Dolty Walker." It's just somebody singing, the boy told himself, but he was frightened. Then his dog answered the song. Softly and sadly it sang, "Linchy Kinchy Kali Mali Dingo Dingo." The boy could not believe his ears. His dog had never uttered a word before. Then a few minutes later he heard the singing again. Now it was closer and louder, but the words were the same. "Mitai Dolty Walker." This time the boy tried to stop his dog from answering. He was afraid that whoever was singing would hear it and come after them. But his dog paid no attention. And again it sang, "Linchy Kinchy Kali Mali Dingo Dingo." And half an hour later, the boy heard the singing again. Now it was in the backyard, and the song was the same. "Mitai Dolty Walker." And again the boy tried to keep his dog quiet. But the dog sang out louder than ever, "Linchy Kinchy Kali Mali Dingo Dingo." Soon the boy heard the singing again. Now it was coming down the chimney. "Mitai Dolty Walker." The dog sang right back, "Linchy Kinchy Kali Mali Dingo Dingo." Suddenly a head fell out of the chimney. It missed the fire and landed right next to the dog. The dog took one look and fell over, dead from fright. The head turned and stared at the boy. Slowly it opened its mouth and... turn to one of your friends and scream. I feel like it would work better if instead of turning to your friends and scream, you just turn and then say scream the Mitai Dolty Walker again. But yeah, it also could have, I imagine, it would have been probably a little bit worse if the head landed in the fire and then kept singing. That would have... If anything, I'm pretty sure that the ideas I'm having for how to make that story scarier means I'm probably just messed up. Anyway, a man who lived in Leeds. I don't know what that means, but it looks like it's gonna rhyme. Some say this rhyme doesn't mean anything. Others are not so sure. There was a man who lived in Leeds. He filled his garden full of seeds. And when the seeds began to grow, it was like a garden filled with snow. But when the snow began to melt, it was like a ship without a belt. And when the ship began to sail, it was like a bird without a tail. And when the bird began to fly, it was like an eagle in the sky. And when the sky began to roar, it was like a lion at my door. And when the door began to crack, it was like a penknife in my back. And when my back began to bleed, I was dead, dead, dead indeed. And more jumping and screaming. Old woman, all skin and bone. For some reason I saw old woman, all skin and shoe, and I don't know where I got the word shoe from, but my brain just went with it. There was an old woman, all skin and bone. Oh, is it another rhyme? Who lived near the graveyard all alone. Ooh. She thought she'd go to church one day to hear the parson preach and pray. Ooh. And when she came to the church house stile, she thought she'd stop and rest a while. Ooh. When she came up to the door, she thought she'd stop and rest some more. Ooh. But when she turned and looked around, she saw a corpse upon the ground. Ooh. From its nose down to its chin, the worms crawled out and the worms crawled in. Ooh. The woman to the preacher said, "Shall I look like that when I'm dead?" Ooh. The preacher to the woman said, "You'll look like that when you are dead." More scream. And now, oh, it's actually all sing-songy. There was a woman all skin and bone who lived near the graveyard all alone. Ooh. Interesting. He heard footsteps coming up the cellar stairs. Maybe I could just read them by the chapters at this rate. Oh, jeez. There are ghosts in this chapter. One comes back as a real person, another takes revenge on her murderer, and there are other strange happenings. Okay, so I think he heard footsteps coming up the cellar stairs is the next chapter. So I guess, I mean, if you guys are okay with them only being like 15-ish minutes long, I think we could probably stretch this book out a couple of Mondays. So I think I'm going to stop this episode here, and, like, you know, just for the sake of it, so that I have something for Mondays while I try to think of something else to fill in the gap after this. So, if you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you'll need to see either one of those things. And I don't know if I want to call it homework. I might call it homework just to be sarcastic. But I want to see you guys, like, write in the comments how you think some of these stories could have been better. I'll leave a link in the description to the PDF so you can check it out yourself. But I want to see what you guys come up with, if you even feel inclined to do that. Because I know I have some ideas how these could be more terrifying and like without having to scream at the listeners to make them go, ah! Because the story itself should be able to unnerve them and scare them without you having to scream in their face at the end. So, thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Later!